Hey guys, how you going? Okay, let me just get rid of this. Trouble looming. Biden's attempt to slander Trump on TikTok to win over black voters goes horribly wrong. There's a video in here too, so we'll check that out. Joe Biden and his team may want to consider quitting social media altogether because it's hard to find a group that is more pathetic at communicating with it. Biden's official TikTok account, Biden HQ, decided to post a video Sunday night slandering President Trump with a libelous story about him supposedly using the N-word during the film of Season 1 of The Apprentice. Former producer Bill Pruitt last week opened his mouth to media after 2 decades of silence to smear Trump. Pruitt outlandishly boasted that Trump, who is more popular with minority voters than any GOPer in America, called black contestant Kwame Jackson a N-word on the show. Team Biden pounced by using an unidentified female influencer to rehash the story to trash Trump as a lifelong racist, to win back black voters who are moving away from the White House occupant in droves. Guys, you have to see this new report on Donald Trump, she says. A producer on The Apprentice just came out and said Donald Trump called a black contestant on his show this N-word, I'm assuming. The TikTok clip then cuts to a years-old video of former Apprentice contestant and Trump White House aide Omarosa Manigault Newman saying the tape of Trump using a horrible slur is real and she's heard it herself. Okay, let's check this out.
Guys, you have to see this new report about Donald Trump. A producer on The Apprentice just came out and said that Donald Trump called a black contestant on his show this. And here's Donald Trump's own former assistant confirming that there's a tape of him saying it.
I had an opportunity to go out in Los Angeles and sit down with the person who actually has a copy of the tape. And I heard his voice as clear as you and I are sitting here.
You have heard the tape?
I have heard
since
the
publication
tape.
of this book?
Absolutely.
So you know it exists?
And I know it exists.
Anyone notice a pattern here? This is the same man who called to execute innocent black men and spread racist lies about the first black president. Donald Trump is exactly who we all knew he was, a lifelong racist. Black voters kicked Donald Trump out of the White House in 2020, and we're gonna do it again this November.
Yeah, I doubt that. Anyway, okay, let's go back to this. But this effort to pander to blacks went horribly wrong as TikTok users cared nothing about the BS story. Instead, they flooded the comments section with complaints about gas prices, groceries, not being able to afford a home, and more actual issues the average American cares about. Swan said, "Why are my groceries so expensive?" Ryan said, "Why is my gas so expensive?" Gabs asked, I want to buy a house, but the rates are high. Didn't ask, said. Ali, why can't my parents afford a new house? Katie said, why is my gas more expensive than my phone? Sherry said, why can't I find a job as master's prepared person? User 7879, whatever. I can't afford to feed my kids. I work 3 jobs. Below is the complete list of comments courtesy of End Wokeness. And Wokeness said, ha ha ha, this is epic. Biden's campaign is desperately trying to win black voters on TikTok by it's backfiring spectacularly. Read the replies to their latest post, which we did read a few. As the Gateway pundit previously reported, Joe Biden joined TikTok in February in a desperate attempt to win over young voters. So far, he's racked up about 354,000 followers, a pathetic number for the so-called leader of the free world. See that? Leader of the free... Whoever's in charge of the US is the leader of the free world. That includes Australia, the UK. Let me tell you. Then Trump decided to join the social media network on Sunday and has already blown Biden's numbers out of the water. As of this writing, he already has 4.8 million followers. While we all know social media does not necessarily reflect reality, the fact that Biden is getting roasted badly in the comments and destroyed by Trump in pure numbers on a far-left outlet, where the majority of users are between 18 and 34 years old, must be pretty sobering for his campaign. I'll say, it's just nothing they're doing is working. Have you noticed that? Okay, I'm hearing reports of this, but as usual, I'm sitting back and watching. World War III, watch. NATO drawing up plans to deploy American soldiers to the front line to potentially fight Russia in an all-out war. And you should see what our army is doing. They are importing people Or they are letting people fight who are New Zealanders, Islanders. I don't think they can get enough Australians. I think other countries are doing it too. The globalists in charge are interested in potentially expanding the already devastating Ukraine-Russia war beyond the borders of the respective two nations. The Daily Mail reported Tuesday that the North Atlantic Treaty Organisation, NATO, is preparing plans to deploy American forces to the front lines on the European continent to potentially fight a war with Russia. Such a dangerous move has the potential to put our men and women in direct harm's way against a nation with the most nuclear weapons on Earth. NATO is drawing up plans to send American troops to the front lines of Europe in the event of an all-out conflict with Russia, it has been revealed. New land corridors are being carved out to quickly funnel soldiers through Central Europe without local bureaucratic impediments, allowing NATO forces to pounce in an instant should Putin's devastating war in Ukraine move further west. The plans are said to include contingencies in case of Russian bombardment, letting troops sweep into the Balkans via corridors in Italy, Greece and Turkey, or towards Russia's northern border via Scandinavia. The plans under development show that American soldiers would land at one of 5 ports across the European continent. 4 would allow access to Ukraine's western border, while a 5th would reach Russia's border via Finland. Reports from last year have indicated that the alliance could provide 300,000 troops at high readiness in the event of a war with Russia. Since the United States bears up to 70% of the total defence spending of all the countries in the NATO alliance, one can be sure they will provide a majority of these forces. The ultimate goal of this developing scheme is to ensure that NATO forces can push through Europe without any unnecessary delays caused by local bureaucratic red tape and checkpoints, according to the Mail. The Daily Mail, that is. It is a safe bet French President Emmanuel Macron is on board with these plans. The Gateway pundit previously reported that Macron refused to rule out sending European troops to fight Russian soldiers in Ukraine, a move Russian President Vladimir Putin's foreign intelligence chief called extremely dangerous and irresponsible. Retired US Army Colonel and former Secretary of Defense advisor Douglas McGregor summed this disturbing news best with the following question: what is NATO thinking? Breaking. NATO now plan to get US troops into the front line to fight Russia. What are they thinking? NATO has disclosed its preparations to deploy American troops to the European front lines in the event of a full-scale conflict with Russia. And we have this. A juror has been handed a huge bag of cash to say COVID fraud suspects are innocent, apparently. This is the stuff that happens in mob movies. A wrinkle suddenly has appeared in a federal case in Minnesota in which the federal government alleges 7 defendants stole millions of dollars through COVID aid funds intended for the federal child nutrition program through the Feeding of Our Future charity and bought cars, homes and vacations. Delivered to the home of one juror hearing evidence was a bag containing $120,000 in cash, along with instructions to vote for acquittal. The result was that all 7 of the defendants were reassessed, the courthouse where the trial was taking place was locked down, and more. A report in the Post-Millennial explains that 7 are part of a larger case that's seen 70 charged with stealing a total of $250 million in COVID aid. They allegedly delivered few, if any, meals, the report said. The wrinkle happened over the weekend when juror number 52 arrived home to find that someone had dropped off a gift bag containing $120,000 in cash with a promise of more if she moved to find the defendants in the case not guilty. The 23-year-old opted to call law enforcement immediately, the report said. As a result, all 7 defendants accused of using a charity to steal $41 million in federal aid meant to go towards feeding children in need were rearrested at the request of the United States Assistant Attorney Joe Thompson, the report said. The juror was released from the panel and the remaining members was sequestered to prevent further attempts to tamper with justice. The report explained the juror got home and was told by her father-in-law, a woman possibly Somali, with an accent, gave him a gift bag for delivery to the juror whose real name she knew. An affidavit stated the woman told the relative to tell juror number 52 to say not guilty tomorrow and there would be more of that present tomorrow, the report said. The cash was turned over to the FBI, which was joined by the Spring Lake Park Police Department in its investigation. The report said the defendants were arrested, had their phones confiscated, and were ordered not to leave the courthouse, and the rest of Monday's proceedings continued. The jurors then started deliberating. This is the stuff that happens in mob movies, Attorney Joe Thompson said. Commentator Charlie Kirk explained the defence, meanwhile, is hiring college professors to lecture that scamming the government and sending suitcases full of cash abroad is a part of Somali culture, and trying to stop them, of course, is racist. And there you go. And the Democratic War Pig proposes automatic registration for wartime draft. I think they're trying to do that here in Australia as well. What I'm thinking is they don't have the army. The army's not. Our armies aren't big enough. They don't have the support from the people in the army to go to war, so they're going to have to draft people. Who is close to the precipice? I think a lot of us are. Okay, anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today. I'm about to make a video for Rumble, which will be very different than this video. So I hope you can join me over there. Have a good morning, afternoon or evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.